Okay, Beshem Hashem Naseh Nastiach, another shiur of Kuler Chasod this morning. Chaf Hey Yar Tafshin Pei Hey Habal Tova. We're going to learn something very interesting from Masechet Tanit about dreams, and if somebody had a bad dream, what to do about it, if it's very disturbing for him, and even to the point that he wants to use the heter of our Chachamim, fasting on Shabbat. So this is a very fascinating discussion. It's brought in Masechet Tanit, Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet, towards the middle. Rav Yehoshua Berei the Rav Idi Iglaye Leve Rav Ashi. So Rav Yehoshua, the son of Rav, he went to the home of Rav Ashi, of Abdullah Agla. So they made him Egel. They made him a wonderful, maybe newborn calf. And this was a tilata, less than 3 years old, right? And it's very supposed to be very delicate. Delicacy is a very delicious barbecue or whatever they made. Amrule lit'om. So they told him, please, Kevod Arav, enjoy this. We made you this, enjoy it. Lit'omar. Amalei betanita yetivna. So the Rav said, no, I'm fasting, I cannot enjoy this. Amrulei ulzief mar velifra. So they told him, there is a solution. When you are planning to fast, right? There's a solution that you could postpone your fast, your ta'anit. You could say, okay, so for now I'm not fasting, I'm going to do it another day. Lo savar le'mar. So they told him, postpone it. Lo savar le'mar. Deha amar Rav Yehuda amar Rav lobe adam ta'anito pore. So they explained that according to Rav Yehuda, a person is allowed to postpone his fast, his ta'anit. Amar lahu. So now Rav Yehoshua is telling them, no, I can't really do this. Why? Right? Ta'anit chalomhu. I am fasting the fast of a bad dream to nullify it. Amar Rabba bar Machsia, Amar Rav Chama bar Guria, Amar Rav. So all these Rabbanim, they learn Yafe ta'anit lachalom kesh lin oret, that fasting a ta'anit chalom, a fast for a bad dream, is as powerful as fire that consumes flax, right? That it's fire to the flax, it burns so quickly, it destroys. So too, if a person had a disturbing chalom, disturbing dream, right, by fasting, he can nullify, he can destroy that dream. Now, what we know about dreams these days are very limited, because we are not blessed to have the extent of the dreams and the truth of the dreams in the past. Right? Many people would have been able to understand in their dreams what future is bringing them. Right? As our Chachamim teach us that the dream is the reflection of that which a person's neshama sees in Olam Haba, that every night a person's neshama goes to Olamot, right, and confesses to his deeds and signs all that he did during the day, and then it comes back to the body. That's why the Gemara says that sleep is like 1/60th of death, that the neshama once goes up there, Hashem enables that neshama to see things and the decrees that are up there in the olamot. So if Hashem allows this neshama can come back with those visions, with the vision that is already in the upper worlds, and perhaps that person can do teshuvah, can do certain things based on that which the neshama saw in the olamot, and by doing teshuvah, that which the dream brings, a person can nullify the gizerot, decrees that are up there. Right. So Amar Rav Chisda says, when is it that a person who fasts, it's so powerful that can nullify the bad dream or the prophecy that a person receives in the dream? Right. Now again, these days we are not blessed with this, unfortunately. These days we're going to see soon that there is a tour that says these days if a person has a bad dream, even on Shabbat, he should not fast. Why? Because according to Tur, and this is like around 800 years ago, according to Tur, a person is not receiving that heavenly message these days. Or even if he is receiving something in the dream, he is not able to understand it correctly. Right? So according to Tur, if a person had a bad dream, should not take away his oneg Shabbat by fasting on Shabbat. Right? So Rav Chisda says that which we say fasting for a bad dream is only powerful if that happens on that day. Ubo bayom. Right? So over here the case was, it was a bo bayom. V'amar Rav Yosef says, v'afilu b'Shabbat. So much fasting on the right after one's dream is so powerful that can take away the bad decrees, that a person would even fast on Shabbat according to Rav Yosef. Right? So a person is not supposed to fast on Shabbat. There is a mitzvah of oneg Shabbat. The person is supposed to enjoy having delicious food on Shabbat. So letev ta'anita letanita. So Gemara teaches us from here, if he is having a bad dream, right, and he wakes up and is very troublesome by it, then he should fast that day, even if it's on Shabbat, right, and then to make up for his avera, right, to fast another day. Now this is when we want to get to some other mefarshim. Very, very interesting. So over here there is questions that comes, and her Rabbi label trainer Shlita just gave a chabura, and this chabura is based on what he taught in our Oraita program, right? So question number 1, what is the heter? How can a person fast on Shabbat? We briefly mentioned because there was a bad dream, but again, you have a mitzvah, right? You have a mitzvah deoraita, which is enjoying, right? We're going to see if that is deoraita or a drabanan, right? And we want to see what's the problem. Okay, so you go ahead and fast. Maybe by you fasting on Shabbat, that is your enjoyment. Why? Because you just get rid of this bad dream. Right? And you know that this is like the fire that consumes the bad dream, it destroys the bad dream. So this is your oneg Shabbat. So Ritva says you don't need kapara by Shabbat, right? But by other Tanyot. In other words, Ritva says, look, the fact that you're keeping Shabbat, right, this will nullify any bad decrees. Man olam haba, Shabbat is so powerful, right? So you don't really need to fast. If you have a bad dream, right, and right after you wake up is Shabbat, you don't need you don't need kapara. Now the question comes. The Gemara in Masechet Tani talks about a chalom, not Chalam, that the Tanit fast, that if a person wants to accept fast upon himself, he needs to accept it, right, before fasting. You're supposed to fast, you're supposed to verbalize it, you're supposed to accept it, right? According to Rema Haghadosh, right? Rema teaches us that you need to accept it in the section of Elokai Nesor, in the end of Shemona Esther, that there is a tefillah that you are accepting Tanit tomorrow. According to Maran Bet Yosef, Rabbeinu Yosef Karo Alav Shalom, in the Shulchan Aruch teaches us, no, you need to accept it in Shema Kodenu. You need to accept it there in your mind, you accept it, or maybe you verbalize it. So Rama says that is a hidur, that is a better thing to do, right? But you don't have to do it. And halacha lemasta is, no, you follow like the Rama. You don't need to do it in Shema Kolenu, right? So the question is here, this Ta'anit is not going to be that helpful, because the Gemara says in Masechet Ta'anit, if you didn't accept it, it's as if nothing. It's, as they say in Yiddish, is gornished, right? You didn't accept it, right? It's not a full-fledged Ta'anit, right? So the answer to the first question is, what's the heter, right? If Oneg Shabbat is midirabanan, then it is not a problem, right? It's just a midirabanan, right? Why is not a problem? Because Chachamim are giving you a heter to fast because of your bad dream. So that heter is also from Rabbanan, right? Rabbanan give you to have good food, to have delicious food on Shabbat, and Rabbanan are telling you now for your special case, right? Because you're so much suffering, you're allowed to, not enjoy yourself with having eating on Shabbat, and just go ahead and fast. So that would not be a problem if Oneg Shabbat is Rabbanan, right? So, but there are those who say Shabbat, Oneg Shabbat is Deoraita, right? So based on them, you cannot be fasting on Shabbat, right? Now, there is a Rambam that says if a person makes teshuvah, that he is going to fast on Shabbat, right, and on Yom Tov, he is patur, because it is from this is from Torah. In other words, Rambam is saying, make a shavua. Oh no, again, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Right? Rambam says if a person made a shavua, he made a vow that I'm going to fast certain Shabbatot, certain Yamim Tovim, right? Then he says, no, he's patur. He's patur, he doesn't need to keep this shavua. He doesn't need to keep this vow. Why? Because Shabbat, Oneg Shabbat is from Torah. So the Rambam holds Oneg Shabbat is mideoraita. So what is the heter? So then what's the heter of Chachamim? Right? So Tur says, right, it is a ta'anug. Tur says this is an enjoyment. Why? Because when a person is really suffering from a bad dream that he had, and he knows fasting on Shabbat will get rid of his bad dream of the prophecy, whatever there is, then he is not suffering anymore, and that is a oneg by itself. And so the Tur says it's not a problem, right, based on this. But again, Tur tells us that nowadays we cannot be fasting because we are not receiving prophecies. Now there is a Hachayim that says, right, that in the older days, when a person had a bad dream, the minhag was to go to a chacham, go to a Talmudic scholar, go to a Talmud chacham, right? True sage, and that Chacham, that rabbi, will interpret your dream in a good way, would explain it in a good way, and that will be your interpretation of the dream. And once you believe him, then that would be it. Your dream, right, will be better. Now, there are certain dreams that Shulchan Aruch brings that are so harmful that the person should fast, right? Maybe those dreams a person should fast even on Shabbat. Now that's a discussion on its own. Now, going back to the first question we had, what is the heter? Right? Maybe this is a pikuach nefesh. Maybe the dream that you had, was so disturbing, and chas v'shalom could be life and death, to you. Losing parnasa, right? Becoming sick, things like that. So by fasting, he is not going to lose anymore. Right? By fasting, by ta'anit, he is going to safeguard that which he has. So that's the enjoyment on its own. So that could be a heter. Now, what about a person who would get oneg by eating? Right? Now, is eating, right? Then by eating, he's having oneg, and he's supposed to fast. So there is a solution that over there say, and this is from Mishna Berura. Mishna Berura tells us, okay, so you're going to have oneg. That's your oneg of eating. So go ahead and fast and eat a little bit. And now, there are those who say that if you eat, your fast is nothing. But there are those who say, no. What about if you fast and you fast from sunrise, from Alot HaShachar till 5 minutes before Shechiyat Chama, right? 5 minutes before. And you made a mistake. You miscalculated, right? And you ate. Is your fast or not? So there are those who say yes, according to, you did majority. Some say no, till Chasot is already a big deal, right? So there are those who say no, it's not like nothing. It's even something than nothing. So a person who had a bad dream and he wakes up on Shabbat, so he wants to have oneg. So the solution that Mishna Berura says is that eat a little bit, right? Now, there is a sefer, Or Sameach says, right, full-fledged Tanit means night and day, like Yom Kippurim, like Tisha B'Av, right? And therefore, from Torah, a full-fledged Tanit is 24-25 hours. So over here is not a big problem. You are having a little bit of Tanit, right? And according to some, you just had oneg. Shabbat night, you had dinner. The dream came after you had the first Seudah. So according to the Or Sameach, this is not a big deal, right? You're taking away a little bit of your oneg, right? So now going back to another question, what's the problem? Then what's the problem if you're having some oneg and you're having some sufferings? What's the problem? You're going to get rid of this bad dream. So why is fasting? Why is he fasting? Maybe this fast because if he's going to fast, but it's not a whole complete fast, what is this going to do for him? So the answer is because he sinned before, Hashem is sending him a message in the Chalom, right? So even though that he is not accepting Ta'anit before, right? But the mere fact that he had this Chalom, Hashem is telling him a message, is sending him a message that you need to do Teshuvah. And this is a heter, this is as if he already accepted the Ta'anit before, right? It's like accepting the Ta'anit before in his dream. Hashem is allowing him by knowing this message that came to his Ta'anit, to his dream, that he is allowed to fast, right? By nullifying, right? He is going to, by fasting, he is going to nullify this dream. So this could be another way of getting rid of this, that avera. Now, a person, Shabbat is also an indication of Teshuvah. Shabbat comes from the word of shuv, returning. So based on this, a person is allowed to do Teshuvah on Shabbat, right? Aruch HaShulchan says, maybe you fasted, maybe, now Aruch HaShulchan says, what's the point of fasting another day because you fasted on Shabbat? If there is the heter that Aruch HaChamim telling us that you are allowed to fast on Shabbat, why do you need to make up for not having oneg on Shabbat and fasting another day of the weekday for the fast that you had on Shabbat? So Aruch HaShulchan says, because maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you should have not fasted. Maybe the dream that you had wasn't that dream that Shulchan Aruch allows you to fast, right? Because we are not Talmid Chachamim. Maybe we don't understand it, right? So for that, you're supposed to fast for your seemingly mistake. Mishna Berura says, if there was no bitul oneg, then there is no need to fast again. Unbelievable. Mishna Berura says, if there was no bitul oneg, then you are off the hook. You don't have to fast.
Who decides that? The person himself?
Huh?
The person himself?
Who decides that? That's a wonderful question. I guess if he's Talmid Chacham, he can decide, but maybe he's a Nogah B'Davar. Maybe he needs to go to see a Chacham, maybe he needs to see a rabbi and say, Rabbi is going to ask him, did you enjoy fasting on Shabbat? He say, yes, Rabbi, my bad dream is nullified. Maybe in that case, he doesn't need to fast anymore, maybe. Right? Good question. Right? So now there is a interesting Shela Haghadosh that this is also brought. I believe Mr. Berura brings it, right? That says, where is the Kabbalah here, right? So this is Shela Haghadosh. Shela Haghadosh says, since from Shamayim they reveal to you that through the dream that this is going to be something that is going to happen, then says Mishna Berura brings the Shela Haghadosh. From here you understand that you need to fast, that a person who fasts on Shabbat is equivalent to 2 fasts.
Who said that?
Shela Haghadosh. Right? That the person who don't try this, but the person who fasts on Shabbat is like equivalent to 2 fasts. Right? It's so powerful. It's like it's difficult. Also, Hashem is telling you a message, is sending you a message. So by you making Teshuvah on Shabbat is like 2 weekday fasts. So Shela Haghadosh says, Mr. Berura brings it, that you don't need to fast on the weekday, right? Right. Yeah, I think this is Mr. Berura in Tav Vav, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Arav Aharon Zakai Shlita, in his Sefer Shemirat HaNefesh, the section that talks about Inyanei Chalomot, right? He says, En mar'im lo le'adam b'chalom ella mehirhulei libo. That which comes to you in a dream is that which you thought about it during the day. So he says over there, V'lachen adam lo ro'eh b'chalom. A person would not see that which he sees in his chalom unless he thought about it during the day. There is a famous Gemara, right, that there was this Roman, I believe Roman queen, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. This Roman person that went to a big Chacham and asked him, you are Chacham, tell me what I'm going to dream. I'm going to dream tonight. And the Chacham told him, you're going to dream that a big, huge elephant is going through a hole of a needle, right? And the Roman said, no, how is that possible? I'm not going to have such a dream. You're talking nonsense. Next day, I think she came, right? She came to the Chacham and said, yes, this is the dream I had. How did you know? So the rabbi said, I just told you something that is impossible to happen. So the whole day you were thinking about it. How could envelope go through the hole of the needle? So this is why you had such a dream. And it's not like I have prophecy. No, I don't have prophecy. Right? So based on this, many Chachamim, including Harav Eliyahu Netanyahu Shlita, right, Harav Yaakov Hillel Shlita, right, they hold, right, that today the dreams that we have are baloney, are nonsense, and we should not be worried about it, right? However, if a person had a dream, right, he needs to be careful not to go to a person who would interpret that in a negative way. Because by you going to a person who would negatively interpret this, right, you're going to give him power of speech. You accept what he says, and that will come through, right? So a person needs to be yashar. A person needs to, do that which Hashem tells him to do, and make teshuvah, right? And this sefer brings a whole section, and you can go do bitul chalom by bikat kohanim. Right? By bikat kohanim, it's a very powerful place to be. Baruch Hashem, Sephardim are blessed to have bikat kohanim even in exile, right? And that will help. Right? There is a tefillah there a person could say by bikat kohanim, and that will nullify his bad dream. Or if he cannot go to bikat kohanim, he can do, right, hatabat chalom, right? You make a beddin of tree, right? And you stand up and you say the dream I had was good. They say it was good, right? And you give tzedakah, right? Tzedakah tatzin mimavet, right? And that would be a solution to one's dream. There are other solutions too, but these are very important. And so again, a person who has a very bad chalom, there's a whole section here. Maybe we get to this in the future series, right? But again, a person who has a chalom, right, maybe you should not give so much importance unless that which the Shulchan Aruch tells. And what about if a person had a chalom about his friend? Is there something to that? We talk about that in the later classes. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen. Amen.